Take an honest look at yourself. How are you in your life? What have your priorities been so far, and what do you intend to do with the time you have left? Are we really the best we can be? Should we remain as we are now? If not, what can we do to improve? These are worthwhile questions. We have no choice about who we already are, but we can desire to change ourselves. Such aspiration gives the mind a sense of direction. But just wishing is not enough. We have to find a way to put this desire into action. How could you change without the slightest effort, just out of desire? We spend a lot of effort to improve the external conditions of our lives, but in the end, it is always the mind that creates our experience of the world, and that translates this experience into well-being or suffering. If we transform the way we perceive things, we transform the quality of our lives. It is this type of transformation that is brought about by the form of mental training known as meditation. Meditation is a practice that allows you to cultivate and develop positive human qualities, in the same way that other forms of training allow you to play a musical instrument or acquire any other skill. Meditation helps us become familiar with a clear and precise way of seeing things, and cultivate healthy qualities that lie dormant within us, unless we make an effort to extract them. So let's start by asking ourselves, what do I really want in life? Am I content to continue just winging it day after day? Am I going to ignore the vague sense of discontent I feel while yearning for well-being and fulfillment? Know that you have a choice. The goal of meditation is to transform our mind. Each of us has a mind, and each of us can work on it. Training the mind is crucial, if we want to refine and sharpen our attention, to develop emotional balance, inner peace, and wisdom, and to cultivate dedication to the well-being of others. We have within us the potential to develop these qualities, but they will not develop by themselves, or just because we want them to. They require training. And every training requires perseverance and enthusiasm. We will not learn to ski by practicing 1 or 2 minutes a month. We are no strangers to spending years learning to walk, read, and write, or to acquire professional skills. Sustaining such tasks requires a minimum of interest or enthusiasm. This interest comes from the belief that these efforts will benefit us in the long run. Working with the mind follows the same logic. Meditation is not, as some people think, a means of escaping reality. On the contrary, its objective is to make us see reality as it is, unmasking the deep causes for our suffering, and dispelling mental confusion. We develop a type of understanding that comes from a clearer vision of reality. To reach this understanding, we meditate, for example, on the interdependence of all phenomena, on their transitory character, and on the non-existence of the ego perceived as a solid and independent entity. The meditations on these themes are based on the experience of generations of meditators, who have dedicated their lives to observing the automatic and mechanical patterns of thought, and the nature of consciousness. They then taught empirical methods to develop mental clarity, alertness, inner freedom, selfless love, and compassion. However, we cannot rely on their words alone to free ourselves from suffering. We must discover for ourselves the value of the methods that these wise men taught, and confirm for ourselves the conclusions they reached. This is not a purely intellectual process. A long study of our own experience is necessary to rediscover its answers and integrate them into ourselves on a deep level. This process requires determination, enthusiasm, and perseverance. If we want to observe the more subtle mechanisms of our mental functioning, and have an effect on them, we absolutely need to refine our ability to look within. To do this, our attention must be highly sharpened, so that it becomes stable and clear. We will then be able to observe how the mind works, and perceives the world. And we will be able to understand the way thoughts multiply by association. Knowing how the discursive mind works, and seeing how it acts to deceive us, is no small feat. Finally, we will refine the perception of the mind, until we reach the point where we will be able to see the most fundamental state of our consciousness, a perfectly lucid and awake state that is always present. The object of meditation is the mind, which, at the moment, is simultaneously confused, agitated, rebellious, and subject to countless conditioned and automatic patterns. Thus, we begin by observing and understanding how thoughts multiply through association with each other, and create a whole world of emotions, of joy and suffering. Then we penetrate the screen of thoughts, and glimpse the fundamental component of consciousness, the primordial cognitive faculty from which all thoughts arise. To accomplish this task, we must start by calming our turbulent mind. Our mind behaves like a trapped monkey that, in its agitation, becomes increasingly entangled in its bonds. From the vortex of our thoughts, emerge first emotions, then moods, and behaviors and, finally, habits and character traits. What appears spontaneously does not necessarily produce good results, just as throwing seeds into the wind does not produce good harvests. Therefore, we have to behave like good farmers, who prepare their fields before sowing. For us, this means that the most important task is to achieve freedom through mastery of our mind. To be free is to own ourselves. It's not about doing everything that comes to mind, but about freeing ourselves from the constraints and afflictions that dominate and cloud our minds. It's about taking life into your own hands, instead of abandoning it to tendencies created by habit and mental confusion. Instead of letting go of the rudder, and just letting the boat drift wherever the wind blows, freedom means setting a course toward a chosen destination, the destination we know is most desirable for ourselves and others. We have become accustomed to thinking that our shortcomings are inevitable, and that we have to endure the setbacks they bring us throughout our lives. We take our dysfunctional aspects for granted, without realizing that it is possible to escape the vicious cycle of these exhausting behaviors. From a Buddhist point of view, traditional texts say that every being has the potential for enlightenment, just as surely as every sesame seed contains oil. Despite this, to use another traditional comparison, we wander around confused like a beggar, who is simultaneously rich and poor, because we do not know that we have a treasure buried under the floor of our hut. The goal of the Buddhist path is to take hold of this neglected wealth of ours, which can imbue our lives with deeper meaning. If we consider that the potential benefit of meditation is to provide us with a new experience of the world at every moment of our lives, then it does not seem excessive to spend at least 20 minutes a day getting to know our mind better and training it for this type of openness. The enjoyment of meditation can be described as an ideal way of being, or as genuine happiness. This true and lasting happiness is a profound sense of having fully realized the potential we have within us for wisdom and fulfillment. Working towards achieving this kind of fulfillment is an adventure worth embarking on.